Hello lovely people and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna film a book related video and it has to do all with this bookmark, which is probably just a shiny piece of metal to you, but it says 50 books to read before you die. And I thought it would be fun to just go through the list, see which books we have and see which books I have read. And let's hope it's not too pathetic that I only have read like 5 books. So let's get to it. First book on the list is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As you might know, I mentioned this in my TFT about books I'll probably never read. So I didn't read it yet. We do have it, but I'll probably might never read it, even though it's on this list. I'm sorry. And the second one is 1984. I have read this one. It was horrible. It might be a classic, but I didn't like it, and it took me ages to get through. But I did read it. So that's the first one to cross off the list. The third one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. As you might know, I've been working my way through Jane Austen's novels, starting with Sense and Sensibility and then Pride and Prejudice, but I already have read Pride and Prejudice about 3 or 4 times, so that's number 2 to cross off. Number 4 is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. To be honest, I never heard of it, so I haven't read it and we don't have it. Number 5 is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I have it in the collection, haven't read it yet. Next one on the list is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and since we have the complete Bronte Sisters collection, we do have that one as well. I remember reading it in university. I don't remember much of it though, so I might have to read it again, but for now I can cross it off the list. And the next one is also a Bronte, but then Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I didn't read that before, but I read it recently, like somewhere this summer, also in here. So another one to cross off the list. The next book I should read before I die is A Passage to India by E.M. Forster. Don't have the book. Actually never heard about the book. Is that a bad thing? So that's another one I can't cross off. Next up is Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I've read this one in secondary school. It was a really interesting book, pretty weird as well, but I did quite like it, which is why I bought it a few years later, and it's still in my collection. So another book that I've read. Then we get to my beloved Shakespeare, and then Hamlet. I certainly have read this one. I absolutely love Shakespeare, and I've read quite a lot of him already, but there's still a lot to be read. But Hamlet I can cross off. The next book is A Bend in the River by V.S. Naipaul. Sorry if I look weird reading the books on this thing, but as you can see it's shiny and metal, so the light is being annoying, so I have to squint a little to read it properly, which is why you get the weird faces, I'm sorry. But as I said, A Bend in the River, I haven't got a clue. Sorry. Meet Mr. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Next up on the list is The Great Gatsby. We used to have a loose book of that, but recently we dumped some of the loose classics, which we have in the collection as well, like this one. And The Great Gatsby is in here as well. I've read it a few years back. It was a classic, let's just keep it at that. But I did read it. The next book is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. It's a book that's still on my list. I've heard a lot about it and I really want to read it, but I haven't got my hands on it yet. But that will probably happen. And after that we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath? Yeah, by Sylvia Plath. Haven't heard of the book, haven't heard of the author. I'm starting to think something's missing in my education because I haven't heard of this, well, these supposed very good authors, because 50 books to read before you die is quite a statement. But there are quite a few I haven't really heard of, so sorry. After that we have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. We don't have that book. I hear it's quite a classic, quite an interesting book as well, and I really want to read it. So if I can get my hands on a copy, I'll definitely will. I should probably not do this because the light and it's annoying. I'm sorry. This bookmark is just a fun plaything and I hope I'm not annoying you too much with it. Next up is The Diary of Anne Frank by Anne Frank. I've read this. It was mandatory in secondary school because, as you might know, she's Dutch. So it was mandatory literature in secondary school for me at the subject Dutch. So I read it and it was just a really fascinating story. I think I reread it a few years later and still was very fascinated. So if you want to know more about it, you should definitely look it up and read that book. Then it's Don Quixote by Cervantes. He doesn't have a first name. Miguel de Cervantes. It's not on the book, so that's why I was checking the bookmark. We have it because it was another cheap Wordsworth classic. I haven't read it though. It's quite big, and big classics just kinda scare me. But it's on the list, so who knows. Then the next one on the list is the Bible. Well, I have several versions of the Bible. This is the King James version, so an English version. Also have some Dutch ones. Still have some from childhood as well. Taught by Bible and stuff like that. Read quite a lot of it. Also had to read quite a lot of it for university, where we had a course on Christian literature. So yeah, I think I can cross this one off. I might not have read it all, but should I have read it from cover to cover to cross it off? Yeah. After the Bible, we get The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. We studied this quite extensively in university the first year, and I really love to translate the Middle English and get to know about the funny tales that were written. And about a few years ago, I saw this very beautiful edition of the Canterbury Tales and I just had to have it. So my parents gave it for my birthday. So, same with the Bible. I haven't read it all, but I think I can cross it off, especially because I have such a pretty edition. The next book on the list is Ulysses by James Joyce, and we have this in a very big collection as well. I haven't read it yet. I've heard James Joyce is quite a tough author to read, so I'm not really sure if I ever will. But we have it in our bookcase, so that's a start. And if I'll ever read it, we'll see. We're almost halfway the list. And the next one is The Quiet American by Graham Greene. Another one I really don't know, just as the next one, Birdsong by Sebastian Falk. Somehow that name sounds a bit familiar, but the book really doesn't. Just as Money by Martin Ami. Is he French? So that's 3 books I don't know, I don't have, and I'll probably never read them. I don't know. I might look up what they are about, and if that interests me, I might find a copy and read it. But for now, they're not really high on my list. And then we get to the infamous Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Another one I mentioned in the books I'll probably never read. It just doesn't interest me. We don't have it anymore. We had a Dutch one, an English one and a German one. 3 separate books. And we tossed those out because the boyfriend now wants the complete collection in matching editions in English. So he's saving up for that, I guess. I just don't think I will ever read them. Seen the movies? Yeah. Don't hate me. But yeah, it's on the list, so maybe I should listen to my bookmark, but then again, it doesn't talk. So, not that high up on my priorities list either. Sorry. After the Harry Potter series, Moby Dick comes up by Herman Melville. I think I started this once, but couldn't get through it, so I haven't read it yet, so I can't cross it off yet, sadly. So I'm just gonna cut this video in two because it's getting way too long. So this was the first half of the books, and we'll discuss the second half of the books in another video. So there'll be a part 2. And if you liked it so far, give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't already, and of course leave a comment on the books you have read already, the books I should read, and the books you still want to read, and then I'll see you in the next one, next week. Bye!